The government just released its monthly readout on how many jobs were added and how many folks are looking for work. And I want to do the version of it where I add some context and make it make sense for those of us who have ADHD or any other type of neurodivergence, because I don't feel like the news gives enough context. Today, I'll talk about things like the unemployment rate. I'll talk about like the participation rate. I'll talk about how long it takes to get hired, like how many interviews it's taking, and then I'll wrap things up with some suggestions on like how to persist in this job search. But first, I just want to ask, how are you doing? Thank you for asking. Today has been tricky, if I'm honest. I had like 3 or 4 days in a row where the scale was going down. And then today I got on and it went up, and I realized this is like one data point, but that really can throw off my whole morning. But I tried not to let it, but I was still kind of bummed because I'm going on a trip in a month, and I was like, oh great, I want to be skinny for the trip, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Don't ask somebody neurodivergent how they're doing if you do not want to know the truth. Anytime I ask my clients, they give me real, authentic answers, and I love that. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading my notes. And if you see me looking over here, it's because that's where my video is. And sometimes I forget that the camera is up here. But let's get started. Okay. So let's just start with some context. Job growth was small, this isn't context. These are small points. Job growth was small in June. Unemployment dipped a little. And that maybe kind of seems a little boring. But there is a story here with the numbers, and it's not great news. So today I want to walk you through what actually happened in June, why the headline number is misleading you, and what this means if you're currently job hunting or thinking about starting a search. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So what is the jobs report? Well, it is a report that is released. Where are my notes? Once a month. It's actually 2 separate reports. One of the surveys they send to businesses to get a sense of like how many jobs were added or taken away. And then there's the household survey that looks at like unemployment rate. So like how many people are looking for work, how many people are discouraged and no longer looking for work. And typically on the first Friday of every month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS, releases this information and for the month before. So July 2nd, or maybe it was July, I can't remember the date. Oh, it would have been July 3rd, but that was a holiday. So July 2nd, the BLS released I think it's called the Employment Situation Report, and it gives us these high-level numbers. So I'll do another video like this after the July numbers are released in August. The headline number is that non-farm payroll employment. So I have an explanation here about what non-farm is, because I was like, what's that? I was getting stuck on that. Oh, I'll go into that in a second. But essentially jobs rose by 57,000 and the unemployment rate went down to 4.2. And they used the term little changed. And that's a technical term that they use when a number doesn't move enough to be statistically meaningful. And so on paper, it sounds like, oh, we got 57,000 more jobs. But there's a little bit more to the story. So if you're like me, you run your own business, you're self-employed. If you are an independent contractor, if you are a caregiver, or if you work on a farm, you're not included in that headline. So your employment status like literally does not show up at all. So it's not a perfect picture of the employment market, but it's it's what we got. So there are two numbers that went down: participation rate, the number of people looking for work, and the employment ratio, the fact that there's fewer people working. So let me break down what this means. The unemployment rate measures people who are in the labor force. So these are folks who are 16 and up, not institutionalized, actively looking for work. If you stop looking, you disappear from that calculation entirely. You're not counted as unemployed anymore. You just vanish from the math. And in June, the labor force participation rate dropped to 61.5. And the employment ratio, which measures the share of the entire population that's actually working, 16 and up, also dropped down to 59%. What does this mean? When both of these numbers fall in the same month, unemployment rate improves, but not because it's like, oh my God, so many more people are finding jobs. It's partly because people just gave up looking because it's a really difficult market, not because more people necessarily got hired. That's a different story than the job market is getting better. And that is what appeared to have happened in June of 2026. And there's more hiding underneath that headline. So a couple of numbers I want to put in front of you. 4.7 million people, that's a lot of folks, are working part-time for economic reasons, meaning they want full-time work, but they can't, but their hours got cut, or they can't find a full-time position. They count as employed in the official numbers. 6 million people want a job, but aren't even counted as unemployed because they haven't actively searched in the last 4 weeks, or they're not available to start right now. So we're already at 10.7. And of those, 477,000 are what BLS calls discouraged workers. That makes me sad. And that's people who've concluded that there simply aren't jobs available for them, so they've stopped looking altogether. The rates of unemployment are much higher within the neurodivergent community, especially with folks who are autistic, who are somewhere on the spectrum. I've seen some stats that say the unemployment rate is as high as 80%. And for sure, the underemployment rate is high because we might be qualified for jobs, but we don't take those jobs or can't maintain those jobs because of the executive functioning or emotional regulation demands on our nervous systems. And it's hard to excel in those environments without the right kind of structure and support. Long-term unemployment. So people who have been unemployed for about 27 weeks or longer, it's up almost 300,000 folks year over year. So 1 out of 4 people who are unemployed have been unemployed for longer than 27 weeks. So if you're one of my clients who's been searching for a while and you're starting to feel like something's wrong because it's taking so long, it's not you. You're a part of sadly, a growing group. It's not an outlier. The system has genuinely gotten harder to move through, especially the longer a search goes on. For a while, the professional and business services were actually going down, but they added 36,000 jobs in June. Social assistance added 25,000, mostly in individual and family services. So if you are an LCSW out there, or you have a master's in social work, something like that, this is the time for you to be trying to look for a new job if you need one, or if you have that degree and you aren't putting it to work, just as a tip. Leisure and hospitality, which had actually been hotspots, one of the stronger sectors, lost 61,000 jobs in June. So that's a flip from the pattern that we've been seeing. And I think I already covered this, but I will add, oh, here we go. Leisure and hospitality has shown almost no net job growth for all of 2026 so far. These numbers go up and down. This was one of the industries that was actually hiring reliably for a while. Restaurants, hotels, entertainment, tourism, and now it's flat for the year. So if you were in this industry or you know folks who are in it, it's worth knowing that it isn't kind of the same hot spot as it was before. Now, here's the part of this report that I think matters more than anything we've talked about so far. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, revised April's job numbers down by 31,000, and May got revised down even more by 43,000. So combined, that's 74,000 fewer jobs than we were originally told existed. Now you might be thinking, why can't they get these numbers right? I have the same question, but here's the thing. So it's not some kind, the script says it's not some kind of scandal, but we're in a period now where it's difficult to trust sometimes what comes out. I have a really good friend who works at BLS. I trust that they are doing the good work for the nation. And so I am going to be inclined to trust these numbers and trust these revisions. Every single month is an estimate. So the BLS surveys that they send out, they don't all come back at the same time. So every number gets revised twice as more surveys trickle in. Once with the following month's report and again with the month after that. Normally these revisions are small, like a few thousand jobs here or there, but 74,000 down, a downward revision is pretty big. And when revisions keep coming in month after month, it's a signal that the real-time estimates have been consistently overstating job growth. So the picture really might look like once all the data is in, it keeps landing a bit weaker than what got reported first. It's not a fluke. This is a pattern. So I'm not saying don't trust the jobs report. I'm just saying, like, just be mindful of the first number that you hear because it's possible that it could change. What does this mean for job seekers? Oh, I have an accomplishment. Even in spite of how I felt, I was like, you know what? I got up this morning. I was very productive. I did emails. I responded to all of my emails. My inbox got to 0. But emails are like dishes. They just keep piling as long as you keep eating. So I try to remember that. But I did get the inbox 0. And after that, I rode the Peloton for 30 minutes. And when I tell you there was not a piece of me that wanted to ride. Not a piece. But, client told me recently, unfortunately, it works. It being exercise. And so I did it. And I'm really proud of myself. Like, I haven't even changed out of what I wore. Because I wanted to get this done. All right. What does this mean for job seekers? First, financial runway. So plan for 3 to 5 months of savings. Second, if you're in a white collar role, plan for 3 to 6 months. If you're going something for even more senior, like tech, finance, government, plan 6 to 9 months. And third, you're going to need about somewhere between 80 and 150 applications. And I say this out of my mouth, and I don't say it lightly because I know the effort that it takes to like get onto LinkedIn and scroll and like just LinkedIn with all of I'm happy to announce all of this kind of stuff. And then you got to apply, and then you got to go to the job site and apply, and they ask you to upload stuff. And it's just, to do that 10 times in a row, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 150 times is a drain. There's no way of getting around that. But this is also the reality of the market that we're in right now. So like knowing this ahead of time helps you prepare for it and set the right expectations for yourself. If you are somebody who, if it's like it's July 10th now, and you're like, oh, I'm going to apply for this job. I'm going to hear back maybe Tuesday, and then I'll be in for an interview in the next week. I have a final interview the following week. I'll be on the payroll at the end of the month. Could happen, unlikely. So don't set yourself up that way. How long does a job search actually take? I just feel like I just said this. Just to reinforce that last point with a bit more structure, all I got to do is follow the script. A general job search right now runs 3 to 5 months on average. I go through a lot of work to build these scripts and write, well, I don't do these slides. I do it with Gamma, but it still takes time. White collar roles, senior roles, run 6 to 9 months. Here's what this means. Start applying for jobs now. If you're not looking for jobs right now, and I think I'll talk about this coming up soon, like just actually hold that thought. I'm going to come back to it. Let me follow the format, but it's taking a long time to find a role. If you're in the DC area and you like had a professional or administrative role, it's also taking that long for everybody. So it's not you. Next, 20 interviews per hire, up from 14. So that means like for one open position, employers are conducting 20 interviews. So that could be like, 6 phone screens, 6 interviews, it's 12. And then 3 second round interviews, and then, 3 or 2, how many ever is left? Like third round interviews. So it's more work for each position that you were getting, which is more time that you're taking off from work. You're trying to jerry rig and make stuff work because you've got to, using your sick time or your leave. And then you got to prepare for the interview and do the interview, and then you'll be exhausted afterwards. But you still got to go back to work. Like, it's tough. It's tough. But this is what I am hearing from my clients. This is what I am seeing in the news. Like, it's just, there's more rounds to get through. Companies really have their pick of the litter right now. And so this is also why it's helpful, right? I'll talk about this in a second. I'll just say it now. Like, because there are more interviews, there's more people applying, you want to make sure your interview skills are sharp. So if you're one of my clients, you could say, hey, Bruce, I want to take one of our sessions and do a mock interview. Or tell me all your tips for interviews. And I'd say that. Because you don't want to go through all of this effort and end up not getting it. Now, you could argue like, well, if it's for me, I'll get it. And to some extent, I believe that. But I also think it's important that you can do your best work in these interviews. Because this is a lot to invest for it to not work out. That said, you can't not make the investment. Time to fill. What 42 days really means. 42 calendar days from the moment that the rec is approved, so the job is open, to the offer is accepted. That does not include, or that includes calendar days. So it includes weekends and holidays. It takes time, right? You might be interviewing and you might feel like things are going really well. And then you're like, man, it's taking them a long time to get back to me. Like, you got to wait on people to get back from vacation, and, and then they're like, oh, we need this piece of paperwork, and have you got this approved by budget, blah, 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 blah. All of that kind of stuff going on. It takes a long time. Shouldn't, but it does. What does this mean though for you? Don't immediately assume like, oh man, I'm doing something wrong or they don't want me anymore. Like, it's just taking folks a long time to get back. This is very important and not the order of the slides that are in my hand. Here's a stat I actually want you to act on. Tailored resumes get interview rates of 7 to 9%. Generic mass applied resumes get 2 to 3%. That's two to three times more callbacks just from customizing. I know I've already talked about the overwhelm that we experience in doing a job search. But there is one approach, spray and pray, which is like just to apply to as many jobs as possible. But what happens is when I say tailor the resume, like if you have a resume that shows you as an administrative assistant, right, and it highlights your skills, and you are applying for a position as a entry level human resources assistant, like your skills are likely applicable, but you have to make it really plain for the people who are reviewing your resumes. If they look at your resume and they see like, well, shit, they ain't even like, how do I know they're going to be good at this job? Like, I have to do the work to read their whole resume to figure out if they will be good in this role. And hell no, they're not going to do that. They have too many applications to go through. So when I say tailor, this is not, I mean, all of this is optional, but I don't think this is optional if you like, rather than applying just for 100 jobs just because it's easy, you have a better return if you're applying for, let's say 25, but you're tailoring your resume for each one. I know there's different thoughts on AI usage here. I feel like this is a place where it could be helpful. If this is something you're coming across and you're one of my clients, we can talk about like how, like some strategies that can help with tailoring the resume. But I would strongly recommend don't just send out like old resumes that haven't been updated. Like, don't do that. It's a waste of your time. Likely will be a waste of your time. Referrals. This is usually an underused lever. Let's see. Employees hired through referrals land offers 55% faster than people applying through a cold career site. Just about everybody I know who got a job in the past 6 months, it came from like them knowing somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody else who was looking for those sets of skills. Like, or they reached out to a company. It turned out the company did have work available, or they were open to doing work on like a contract level. Like, it's always been about people. I heard another career coach say, but it's even more so about who you know now. So use the network. What does that mean? Like, one, ask the people who are closest to you if they know anybody who's hiring, and can they like put a word in for you or pass on your name. And then ask them, like, do you know anybody else who might know somebody who's hiring? Because like, if this is your circle of people, y'all all going for the same jobs, but like there's a circle here and a circle here and a circle here from your other friends, and like the jobs are hanging out like 2 or 3 levels out. So it's like, talk to people. If this is an area that's difficult for you, we can talk about it during a session. If you're not my client, like, you're on YouTube already, watch YouTube videos about it. Like, there are benefits to, there's some serious challenges, I acknowledge, when you are neurodivergent to networking for, like, it feel gross or what have, like, I get that. This is not what this video was about. We have to overcome that though to have our best shots of getting the jobs that we want. Okay, I have already talked about this, and it was so important that I put another slide in here that I had forgot about. And a couple more things for those of you who are currently employed. Start, like, I don't want to say what you should do. But you should probably be putting your resume out there. Here's the thing. There's a couple benefits to this. One, interviewing is a skill. For a lot of us who are neurodivergent, it's something that we have to practice. And if it's going to take 3, 6, maybe 9 months to find the job that you want, it's not like, well, let me put all of my effort into applying. It's like, no. We need to be practicing and preparing for interviews, preparing our elevator pitch, preparing to talk about the types of problems that we like to solve and things that we're good at and the kind of environment that we want to work in. That means we have to take time out to figure out what those things are. But back to the point, I would encourage you to be interviewing now. Part of that is so that you understand how your resume is showing up compared to other folks in the market. If you put your resume out there or you start applying for jobs and you're not getting any calls back, then that's a sign that it could be a sign of a couple of things, but it could be a sign that you're not putting out things that people want to pick up. And so maybe there are some skills you need to learn, a degree you need to finish, a certification you need to earn, a license you need to get, a pivot you need to make. The market will give you feedback. It hurts though sometimes when it's not the feedback you expected, but you don't know unless you're playing in it. Second, stay findable. Look, LinkedIn sucks. That said, the thing that makes LinkedIn great still works, and that is the networking piece. I know there's some trepidation over doing cold messages and things like that, but honestly, that's where a lot of the recruiters are. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, they can't find you. So I know it's a pain, but we got to work through it. And I don't know, I can't remember the name of this, but there is a add-in that you could use, I think on Chrome, where it will, when you pull up LinkedIn, it'll show you jobs, but not the feed. So not the I had a croissant this morning, and here's what it taught me about leadership bullshit. I shouldn't call it bullshit. Some of that might be good. It irritates me. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I hate saying this, but I feel like that is the place to be so that you can find people who are working where you're working or who are connected to them so you could work on getting a referral. And you engage with LinkedIn in a way that doesn't zap all your energy. Maybe it's 15 minutes a day, maybe it's 10 or 5 minutes a day. You can't just bury your head in the sand and be I'm just going to work hard and apply and it'll come to me. It's not that doesn't work reliably. There's other ways to spend your effort. We're almost at the end here. Thank you for staying with me. All right. Key takeaways at a glance. 57,000 jobs added, which is not a lot of jobs when there's millions of people looking for work. Prior data got weaker. So April and May weren't as good as we thought they were. What does that mean? It's going to take time. It's going to take time. And the way that you reduce the time is by using a referral, targeting positions, tailoring your resume and cover letter. Yes, you need to do it if they ask for it, but not if they don't. And this is the conclusion. So thank you for sticking this out. And I spend a fair amount of time reading the employment situation and then actually figuring out what it means and trying to break down these terms so that I understand them better and you can understand them and you can talk astutely about how the market is going. These are the things I love to do. And so if you're my client, you should be asking me these questions, especially if we're doing career coaching, to make sure I'm on my toes or minding my on my P's and Q's, minding my P's. Let me wrap this up before this carries on. I appreciate you watching, and I'll be back next month with the next employment situation report. Bye.